Why don't we go ahead and settle in for some meditation this morning? Please take care to ensure that your spine is straight and relaxed. Using whichever method you find most effective, please allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and to rest, to become quiet and still. There is an aspect of the body that is referred to sometimes as the inner body. Some schools of meditation refer to it as the subtle body. And by coming into contact with your inner body, you can make manifest a more supple, tranquil state of awareness. So, to accomplish this, I'd like you to please draw your awareness inside of your body and become aware of sensations. Sensations that may start in your hands and your feet in the form of a tingling, perhaps a lightness, perhaps a heaviness, perhaps a pulsation. No analysis is necessary. There's nothing to figure out. Just be the silent observer of these sensations and allow a more tranquil, supple, non-conceptual state of awareness to emerge. When you encounter a situation that you find undesirable, you have two choices. You can resist or you can accept. Resisting what is will perpetuate your suffering. Accepting what is will liberate you from your suffering. Please know that patience is not gritting your teeth and putting up with something. Patience is a mind that wholeheartedly accepts whatever arises, having abandoned the notion that things should be other than what they are. Please know this fact about patient acceptance. If you perfect your practice of patient acceptance, you will never suffer again in this lifetime. So for now, I'd like you to please just rest in acceptance. And please feel free to conjoin your meditation on the inner body, with your resting in acceptance. This is the Mahamudra of patient acceptance. Rest in acceptance. Become familiar with acceptance. Experience acceptance. Become acceptance. Now, please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of your physical body and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room you're occupying. Become aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue sky beyond the clouds, of outer space beyond the blue sky. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation to world peace. May all beings without exception be completely free from all forms of emotional and physical suffering. May all beings without exception be happy, peaceful, contented, and free. Most of all, may all beings soon come to enjoy a state of deep, lasting, abiding inner peace. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Welcome back, everyone. So, we've been talking about and meditating on Mahamudra for the last several classes. And I have I've kind of referred to the Mahamudra as being kind of the uncommon practice. And I said that starting today and next week, we would be getting into what might be called the common methods of practice for developing patient acceptance. But before we do, I want to back up a little bit and talk just a little bit more about Mahamudra. I have said that if you made me sort of pick out one aspect of Mahamudra that sort of sums up the practice, it's an exercise in futility because there are so many aspects to it. In fact, Mahamudra sort of comprises and uh, includes all practices, all different aspects of the path. So it's an exercise in futility to try to say this is the one main element of Mahamudra, but here I go doing it anyways. So I've said that the one aspect I think that kind of symbolizes or illustrates the Mahamudra is moving away from conceptual thought and moving into a place of non-conceptual awareness. Um, and I think we need to acknowledge that dispensing with conceptual thought is not an easy thing to do. We have spent, I think most of us have spent most of our adult lives learning how to think, perfecting thinking. Yeah, it's what we do. And now here's this body of teaching saying that thinking is overrated, right? And Eckhart Tolle even talks about renunciation. Like renunciation is a common, a very common and very important part of Dharma practice. Eckhart Tolle says that thinking is to be renounced. Really a radical, powerful statement. And I just want to say that, to clarify, to say that nobody is saying that there's no place for thinking. Nobody's saying that there's no place for conceptual thought, for mental constructs, and all of that. What the Mahamudra says is that thinking can only take us so far. Right? Thinking can only take us so far. But until we can get to a place where we understand what non-conceptual awareness is, conceptual thought is important for us to understand what patience is. We have to understand conceptually what it is before we can go beyond patience. We need to understand what meditation itself is before we can go into a place that transcends meditation. So I want to tell you, I want to share, I was reading this morning a book by Chogyam Trungpa, who is, he's deceased now, but a very illustrious and famous Dharma teacher, who started Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. He was the founder of Naropa. And I was reading a book that Trungpa wrote about the Kagyu lineage of Buddhism, the Kagyu lineage. And in particular, with specific regard to the lineage, Chogyam Trungpa was talking about Marpa. Marpa, who is known as Marpa the translator, a Tibetan who was a student of Naropa. So this is the lineage. It starts with Tolopa, who wrote the Ganges Mahamudra, which I refer to often. Tolopa's main student was Naropa. Naropa's main student was Marpa, Marpa the translator. And he's referred to as Marpa the translator because he would, as did some back in the day, we're talking 11th and 12th century Tibet, would travel into India to try to obtain special, sort of rare, kind of sometimes exotic, sometimes mystical teachings, and then bring them back to Tibet and translate them and make them available to the people of Tibet. Marpa was one of a number of translators who did this. And really important, there's so many important aspects to the life of Marpa, but one is that, so what Marpa would do is that he would accumulate as much gold as he could, as much like the precious metal gold, as much gold as he could, and would take it to India as an offering to the Indian teachers to provide the teachings. It was kind of, it might seem kind of strange for our times, but it was very customary in those days to make offerings. Some people would offer parts of their body in order to receive the teachings. Yeah, it's said that there were sometimes, these sadhus or people who had no means at all would like give part of their flesh as an offering to receive the teachings. Marpa would amass as much gold as he could, take it to India, offer it to a teacher or teachers in exchange for receiving the transmission, the teachings, and then he would write it down and then bring it back to Tibet and translate it and make it available to the people. important to remember is that there weren't jet airplanes in those days, right? There were not, no, there were not passenger trains. Marpa walked, and others walked through the Himalayan mountains of India, of Tibet into India to receive these teachings. And then he would walk back to Tibet with the teachings. Also important to note is that when he decided he needed a teacher in one of these treks to India that he made, and he had heard of his would-be teacher Naropa, but had never met him, didn't know how to find him, wandered around India trying to find Naropa, who he just knew was to be his teacher. They didn't have email in those days. You know, they didn't have Google Maps, right? So he could find the most direct way. Didn't have Facebook so that he could sort of get clues about where Naropa could be found. Nope. Walked around asking people, do you know of Naropa? Do you know where I can find him? All in the name of receiving teachings. All in the names of receiving Dharma teachings. Amazing. Do you also know that Marpa took 3 trips, made 3 of these trips to India? On the second and third trips, at this point, he had become a businessman. He owned land, he was a farmer. He would sell his land, he would sell his belongings, everything except the bare essentials to get gold to take over to India to offer to Naropa to give teachings. Amazing, amazing commitment and level of dedication to receiving these teachings. On Marpa's third and final trip to India to receive teachings from his teacher, Naropa, guess what the last teaching Naropa gave to Marpa was? The teachings on the Mahamudra. The last most precious teachings were on the Mahamudra. All those trips, all that gold, all that looking for Naropa. This was to receive a number of teachings, including kind of the crown ornament, if you will, the Mahamudra. And this was Marpa. Marpa, a very learned scholar, a long-time meditator. Like I don't know how long. I mean, decades he had been practicing Dharma and teaching and meditating. And he had to go through, he had to make this effort to receive these Mahamudra teachings after years and years and years. And here you are, some of you 2 or 3 years into your Dharma practice, some of you 2 or 3 months into your practice. And here you are having received the Mahamudra teachings. Here's where I think a worthwhile application of conceptual thought could come in, a contemplation for you, application of conceptual thought, contemplation. What does this mean? What am I supposed to learn from this? What is the relevance of this to me that I have learned the Mahamudra with virtually no effort, right? I like zoom in, like I do a Zoom call and receive the Mahamudra teachings, right? I've been practicing for 2 or 3 months, some of you 2 or 3 years, some of you longer, perhaps. But here I am, and I've received these teachings through which I can attain complete and permanent liberation from suffering. I can get out of samsara. What do I do with this? What do I do with this opportunity? How do I apply myself? What am I supposed to learn from this miraculous, indescribable good fortune and rare opportunity. What's my takeaway from this? That's an example of a worthwhile application of conceptual thought, in my opinion, is to contemplate what this means. Okay, 9:01, you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope to see you on Monday.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.